Brent does it the same way every night. He picks up his phone from wherever it's been sitting, the coffee table, the kitchen counter, the arm of the sofa, and he flips its screen down. Then he presses the side button until the silent icon appears. Then he sets it down again. Then he kisses my forehead. It's a ritual now. Predictable as brushing teeth. He does it without thinking about it, or he does it while making it look like he's not thinking about it. I haven't decided which yet. I noticed it about 3 months ago, not the first time it happened. I don't know when that was. I noticed the pattern, the consistency of it. Every night, same sequence, same order, phone down, then forehead kiss. And something about the sequence bothered me in the way small things bother you when they're standing in for something larger. I told myself it was consideration. He knows I'm a light sleeper. He silences the phone so notifications don't wake me. Tonight I'm on the couch with a book, and I watch him do it from across the room, and I notice that he checks the screen before he flips it. Just for a second, just long enough to read something before he turns it over. He doesn't react to what he sees. He just sets the phone down and comes to kiss my forehead and goes to the kitchen. I'm looking at the phone on the coffee table. Screen down. Silent. It vibrates once, quickly, then stops. Brent is in the kitchen running water. I don't touch the phone. I don't need to. The lock screen notification has a preview that I can read from where I'm sitting if I tilt my head the right angle and the room has the right light. It does. I can. The preview reads, "Don't wake her. She can't know." I look at the sender name at the top of the notification. Mom. My name is Tessa. I'm 46 years old, and I've been married to Brent for 18 years. I am the kind of woman who keeps warranty papers in a labeled folder and remembers birthdays 2 weeks in advance and sends cards that arrive on the actual day. I am organized in the way that is invisible until it's absent. The kind of organized that keeps a household running so smoothly that no one notices the running. I am also the kind of woman who notices things. Not suspiciously. Not with a habit of looking for problems, just with the particular attention of a person who pays close attention to the world around her because she finds the world around her interesting and worth understanding. When the phone started going silent every night, I told myself there was an explanation. Brent's mother, Marla, has always been a presence in our marriage. An overwhelming, confident, opinionated presence, who I've managed through patience and strategy and the occasional firm line for 18 years. Maybe Marla calls him late about something she doesn't want to burden me with. Maybe Brent is managing something with his family that he's not ready to talk about. I give everyone explanations before I give them suspicion. That's how I'm built. But the pattern has been running for months now. Every night. Same ritual. Same sequence. Phone down, screen hidden, kiss my forehead. I open our shared calendar on my tablet. We've shared this calendar since year 2 of our marriage. Doctor's appointments, family events, travel, car maintenance. Everything on one calendar so neither of us is surprised by the other's schedule. There's a weekly recurring entry I didn't create. Late appointment. Every Thursday evening from 6 to 9. Starting 8 weeks ago. I didn't put that there. At breakfast I ask about the phone. I keep my voice in the register of casual curiosity. Light. Easy. The voice of a woman asking about something she notices but isn't particularly worried about. Why do you flip the phone over every night? Brent looks up from his coffee. He smiles. It's a warm smile, genuinely warm. The smile of a man who has spent 18 years learning how to be charming in exactly the moments when charm is useful. Because you're a light sleeper, he says. Notifications wake you up. That's considerate, I say. It is, he says, still smiling. Then, you've been anxious lately. I'm just trying to make things easier. I had not mentioned being anxious. I had not given him any indication of anything beyond a casual breakfast question. Anxious came from somewhere, filed and ready. I drink my coffee. I don't respond. 5 minutes later, my phone rings. Marla. I answer because not answering Marla's calls creates more work than answering them. Tessa, honey, she says. Her voice has the warm authority of a woman who has never in her life believed her perspective needed an invitation. Don't stress, Brent. Men need peace at home. Whatever you've been worried about, let it go. She doesn't specify what I've been worried about. She hangs up before I can ask. I sit with my coffee and think about the sequencing. Brent at breakfast. Marla on the phone 5 minutes later. As if they'd discussed the conversation in advance and Marla was following up. The next evening, I'm at the kitchen sink when I hear Brent on the back porch. His voice is low, which means he stepped outside for a reason. I can't hear the words, just the register. Hushed, careful, the voice of a conversation that has chosen its location deliberately. I dry my hands and walk to the back door. He sees me and his voice shifts mid-sentence. He straightens. I was talking to Dana about her car, he says. Not waiting for a question. He hadn't heard me ask anything yet. Dana is my closest friend. She's been in my life for 12 years. She and Brent are friendly the way all our respective friends are friendly. Surface warm, no particular closeness. I text Dana from the kitchen while Brent comes back inside. Hey, did you talk to Brent tonight about your car? Her response comes in 4 minutes. No? I didn't call him? Everything okay? I look at her text. Then I put my phone in my pocket. That evening, Marla drops by, unannounced, which is her preferred mode of arrival. She has a casserole. She always has a casserole. She brings them the way some people bring energy, with the implication that your home needed both and is now better for the delivery. She sets the casserole on my counter, and she reaches into her pocket. She places a key on my counter. It's a standard house key. She holds it out like she's presenting something thoughtful. In case of emergencies, she says, now I can help without waiting for someone to let me in. Brent is behind her. He watches my face. He says nothing. I smile at Marla. I thank her. I pick up the key and I put it in my cardigan pocket and I file the entire moment away. Marla helps herself to a glass of water from my cabinet. Brent sits at the kitchen table like a man who has claimed a neutral position. I busy myself with something at the counter. After Marla leaves and Brent has gone upstairs, I stand in the kitchen alone. I take my keyring from the hook by the door. I go through every key on it. House, car, post office box, storage unit. The small brass key to the file cabinet in our bedroom where I keep our important documents. The brass key is not there. I try to remember the last time I used it. 2 weeks ago, I went into the file cabinet for our insurance documents, when I needed to make a claim for a car repair. The key was on my ring then. It's not there now. I go upstairs to the bedroom. To the filing cabinet, I try the brass lock with my remaining keys. None of them work. I try the handle. Locked. I tell Brent the cabinet seems to be stuck and I can't find the brass key. He says, in the voice of smooth disinterest, that it must be jammed. He'll look at it. He's busy this week. Marla, who has been upstairs saying goodnight apparently, comes around the corner. She heard. Tessa, you misplace things when you're upset, she says, warmly, with the kindness of a woman delivering a diagnosis. That night the phone vibrates. Silent. Screen down. I hear it. It's 2:11 in the morning when the light from Brent's phone fills the nightstand. He's asleep. Deeply. The breathing of someone who has either done nothing wrong or made peace with having done something wrong, and I can't tell from breathing which one it is. I don't touch his phone. I am lying on my side and the lock screen notification is on the edge of my vision. The phone is angled just slightly toward me. Just enough. I read it. Tomorrow. Bring her signature. If she won't sign, we'll handle it. The sender name at the top, Mom. I stay very still. I breathe in the controlled, deliberate way you breathe when your body wants to do something reactive and you need it to stay still. Bring her signature. If she won't sign, we'll handle it. I don't know yet what they want me to sign. I don't know yet what handling it means. I know these two things. Something is planned for tomorrow and it requires my signature, and there is already a contingency for what happens if I don't provide it. The contingency is the part that matters. Normal people don't build contingencies into requests they plan to make openly to a person who has every right to refuse. You build contingencies when you're planning around someone rather than with them. I lie in the dark until Brent's breathing settles back into its deep rhythm. Then I get up quietly, take my phone to the bathroom, and open my notes app. I write the time, the date, the exact words I read on that screen. I write it exactly, every word. In the morning, Brent announces he has to run out for a couple of hours. He says it with the ease of a man who has delivered a prepared line enough times that the preparation has worn smooth. Just some errands, couple hours. I don't ask what errands. I pour myself coffee and say, okay. He leaves. Exactly 10 minutes later, Marla pulls into the driveway. I watch from the front window as Brent walks to her car and gets in the passenger seat. Not my car, not his car. Her car. They leave together. I watch the car turn the corner and disappear. My hands are around my coffee mug and the coffee is warm, and the morning is ordinary except for the complete unreality of watching my husband get into his mother's car to go do errands he didn't tell me about the morning after she texted him about my signature. My phone buzzes. Dana? Are you free? Can I come over? I text back, yes, please. She arrives in 20 minutes. She comes through the front door and she looks at my face and she says, tell me what's happening. I tell her about the phone, the message, the calendar entries, the key, the file cabinet. Marla's appearance in the driveway this morning. Dana listens. She doesn't minimize and she doesn't catastrophize. She just listens. Then she says, check your credit right now. Pull your credit report. I open my laptop. The credit report loads and I scroll through it. Most of it is familiar. Our mortgage, my car loan, now paid off, the credit card I've had for 15 years. Then, at the bottom of the recent inquiries section, one entry that isn't familiar. A hard inquiry from a lender I've never heard of. Recent. 7 days ago, I read the entry 3 times. My name. My social security number. My address. My information, used to authorize a credit inquiry at an institution I have never contacted. My throat goes dry in the specific way throats go dry when you realize something large is happening and you're standing at the edge of understanding it. Dana is looking at the screen over my shoulder. When did you authorize a credit check? She asks. I didn't, I say. We hear a car in the driveway. Brent and Marla come through the front door with the energy of people returning from a pleasant outing. Marla has shopping bags. Brent is relaxed. How was the errands? I say. Good, Brent says. Quick. Marla puts her bags down and says, oh, Tessa, we should talk later. I'm bringing someone over. Though. She adjusts one of her bags. A notary. Routine. Just a thing that needs to be done. The notary arrives at 6 in the evening. He's a man in his 40s, with a briefcase and the professional affect of someone who comes to people's homes regularly to witness signatures. He sets up at my dining room table. He has a document already clipped to a board and pages already marked with sticky tab arrows at the signature locations. Marla is there. Brent is there. I'm at my own dining room table. The notary explains, briefly, that this is a refinancing consent form, spousal consent, standard requirement for refinancing a jointly held property. Brent says, it's routine, just the house. Marla says, this helps the family, it's a good thing. I pick up the document. I read the first page. The refinancing in question ties to a loan amount significantly larger than our outstanding mortgage balance. The excess would be drawn as cash. The debt obligation the refinancing is structured around is identified in the second paragraph by account number. I don't recognize the account number. I read on. The debt associated with the account is dated 18 months ago. I was not aware of any debt taken on 18 months ago. I read to the bottom of the first page. I turn to the second page. The notary's pen is hovering. Marla is smiling. Brent is watching me with the particular stillness of someone waiting for a specific outcome and monitoring my progress toward it. I set the document flat on the table. No, I say. Brent's jaw tightens. Just slightly. Just enough. Brent pulls me into the kitchen. He closes the door behind us, the specific closing of a door that has been waiting to be closed, decisive, practiced. Do you want to lose this house? He says. His voice is low and tight, not the voice he uses in public, the voice for when the performance is temporarily suspended. I don't know what I just read in there, I say. I don't know about any loan from 18 months ago. It doesn't matter. It matters, I say. It's my name on that consent form. That's my credit. That's my home. You're making this into something it isn't. His voice drops further. If you don't sign, we'll do this another way. Another way. From the living room, Marla's voice carries through the closed door, pitched at exactly the right volume to be audible to the notary still sitting at my dining room table. She's being difficult, Marla says. She gets emotional and then she can't think straight. I look at Brent. He holds my gaze for a moment, then he goes back to the living room. I stand in my kitchen alone for 60 seconds. I breathe. I look at the window above the sink. Then I go upstairs. I sit on the edge of the bed and I open my notes app. I add everything: the notary, the documents, the conversation, Brent's exact words, Marla's voice through the door, the time. Then I call Dana. I need to tell you what just happened, I say. She says, document everything: dates, screenshots, witnesses, start tonight. I go quiet. Not the quiet of defeat or confusion. The other kind of quiet. The quiet that scares people who rely on noise. The kind that comes from making a decision that other people can't see yet. Brent spends the next 2 days watching me for signs of what I'm going to do. I give him nothing. I'm pleasant. I cook. I ask him about his day. I go to work and I come home and I am completely, boringly ordinary. He can't read me and it's making him uncomfortable, and I note his discomfort and add it to my record. On Tuesday morning, I come downstairs and find an envelope on the kitchen counter. It's been opened. The flap has been torn in a slightly jagged way, the way envelopes look when someone opens them in a hurry rather than carefully. It's addressed to me, my name, my address. The return address is my bank. My monthly statement. I pick it up. I look at the torn flap. I look at Brent across the kitchen. Mail's open, I say. Oh? He glances at it. Must have been opened by accident. Must have been opened by accident. A piece of mail addressed to me, with my name on it, from my bank, opened before I could see it. I take the statement and I go to my car. I sit in the driveway and I call the bank's customer service number. I ask for duplicate statements for the past 6 months. I ask for a complete account activity log. Then I ask, has anyone attempted to add an authorized user to my account? The customer service representative puts me on a brief hold. When she comes back, her voice has shifted to the particular professional care that banking representatives use when the information they've found is something they want to handle correctly. There was an attempt, she says, to add an authorized user. The request was submitted by phone approximately 3 weeks ago. I didn't make that request. The caller claimed to be you, she says. The phone number used wasn't the one on file for your account. What happened with the request? It didn't process because the security verification questions weren't answered correctly. The request was flagged and held. I write everything down: the date of the attempt, the flag, the incorrect phone number. She tells me she can add additional security steps to my account, in-person verification required for any changes. Additional passphrase known only to me. She walks me through each step. Before we finish, she says, you should come in. I'd recommend speaking to a branch manager in person given what you've described. I'll come today, I say. I'm still sitting in my driveway when my phone buzzes. A text from Brent. Where are you? He doesn't know I'm in the car. He thought I was still inside. I look at the text for a moment. Then I drive to the bank. The branch manager is a woman named Phyllis, who has the efficient warmth of someone who handles sensitive situations regularly. I explain everything I know. The unauthorized, authorized user attempt. The account statement that arrived opened. The credit inquiry I didn't authorize. She types. She reads her screen with the focused expression of someone finding things. She turns the screen slightly toward me to show me a note in my account record. Customer requested expedited processing, it says. Mother present. I look at those 2 words. Mother present. I've never requested expedited processing for anything, I say, and my mother passed away 4 years ago. Phyllis looks at the note, then at me. The note was added during an in-branch visit approximately 5 weeks ago, she says. I wasn't in a branch 5 weeks ago. Marla was in my branch 5 weeks ago. Marla was in my branch claiming to be my mother or accompanying someone presenting themselves as me, and she was present for a conversation about my account that I was not present for. My hands are flat on the desk. I keep them still. You mentioned camera footage, I say. Earlier, your security system. Phyllis nods. The branch has cameras covering all customer service areas, but a formal request for footage requires documentation. A fraud case number, legal request through proper channels. I'll have a legal request filed, I say. She gives me the documentation requirements. I write them in my notes. That evening, Brent's sister Corrine calls. She sounds concerned in the careful way people sound when they've been briefed on what concern should sound like rather than actually feeling it. I heard you've not been doing well, she says. Brent mentioned you've been struggling with anxiety and some other things. What other things? I ask. Just, he says you've been confused about some paperwork and finances. I'm not confused, I say. Of course, she says. But sometimes stress shows up as confusion and we don't realize it. I add her call to my notes. Date, time, what she said, who called her. 2 hours later, a cousin I hear from twice a year texts me asking if I'm okay. Marla has started a campaign. I recognize it because campaigns like this have a structure. You start with the people closest to the target and you work outward, seeding concern, planting specific words, anxious, confused, struggling, so that when the target says something later, there's already a frame around the words. At dinner, Brent suggests gently, with the tone of a man who has always only ever wanted the best for me, that maybe I should talk to someone. Professionally. Just to process things, he says. You've seemed overwhelmed. I've seemed overwhelmed because my husband and his mother have been actively working against my financial interests, and I have been documenting it for 2 weeks. I'll think about it, I say. I add the conversation to my notes. Marla is in the kitchen 2 days later when I come downstairs. She has coffee. She's made it herself. She is in my kitchen making coffee before 7 in the morning because she has a key to my front door. Tessa, she says. She has the tone of a woman about to deliver something she's decided is a gift. I've been thinking about you, about your mental wellness. There are people who do evaluations, supportive, not clinical. A wellness evaluation could help you make better choices. Better choices. As if my choice not to sign a spousal consent form for a debt I didn't know existed was a quality of judgment problem. I'll keep it in mind, I say. She sits at my table like she's settling into something. If you loved Brent, she says, you'd stop fighting everything he's trying to do. A good partnership means trust. I pour my coffee. That evening, Brent's phone lights up on the kitchen counter. He's in the other room. The lock screen notification is visible for 2 seconds. Tomorrow. Conservatorship draft ready. I set down my mug. Conservatorship. Not just access to my accounts, not just a signature on a loan form. They're planning to file for legal control over my decisions, my finances, my agency. I go upstairs. I open my phone and I search for family law attorneys in my area. I read reviews. I look at specializations. Then I dial. Attorney Sienna Ward answers her own phone at 8:30 in the morning. I tell her I need to discuss a potential conservatorship attempt and suspected financial fraud. She says, "Can you come in today?" I'm there by 10. Her office has the organized simplicity of someone who values function over impression. She shakes my hand with the grip of someone paying attention. I tell her everything in sequence. The phone ritual, the message, the calendar, the notary, the credit inquiry, the authorized user attempt, the bank note about a mother present, the campaign to have me labeled unstable. I show her my notes, the full document, dates, exact words, the accumulated timeline. She reads without interrupting. When she finishes, she looks at me. "Have they used your name to do anything without your permission?" she asks. "Any document filed, any account accessed, any signature obtained?" "The credit inquiry," I say. "The bank attempt. The notarized loan form. I didn't sign it, but I saw the forged POA in the packet." She writes, "And you think they're planning to file conservatorship, claiming you're unfit to manage your own affairs?" "I saw the message," I say. "Conservatorship draft ready." "Okay," she says. She sets down her pen. "I want you to understand something," she says. "Everything we do is through proper channels. We don't intercept communications. We don't access anything without legal authority. We document through records requests, proper subpoenas, and the paper trail they've already created." She looks at me. "Because the paper trail they created is going to be everything." Sienna tells me specifically what to gather. My credit report, with the unauthorized inquiry circled and dated. The bank account notes, requested through proper channels, with a fraud case number. The notary papers from the signing attempt, which I photographed before returning them to the table. My written log, covering the last 6 weeks. Dana's written account of what she witnessed. The calendar screenshots showing the entries I didn't create. I spend the following 2 days organizing. I pull everything I documented. I put it in a folder in chronological order, with source notes on each item, identifying how I obtained it. I have more than I realized. The pattern is visible when the documentation is laid out sequentially. Not isolated incidents, a connected series of steps, each step building on the last, each step designed to move me further from my own financial autonomy. I bring everything to Sienna's office on Thursday morning. She reads through it. Then she says, "I'm going to request the notary's official log." Every legitimate notarization requires a log entry. If the POA you saw in that packet has your signature on it, there will be a notary log entry, unless the notarization was fraudulent. She pauses. "I'm also filing protective measures on your credit and flagging the bank fraud case through official channels." She picks up her pen. "Be ready," she says. When people realize their plan isn't moving forward, they tend to accelerate. She was right. 3 days later, a process server appears at my door. I sign for the delivery the way you sign for a delivery when you've been expecting something and don't want the receiving of it to look like anything. Inside the envelope, a court filing. Brent is requesting temporary financial guardianship. The petition cites erratic behavior, financial confusion, inability to manage household decisions responsibly. The supporting witness on the petition: Marla. I sit at the kitchen table with the filing in my hands and I read every page. Not for the emotional experience of reading it, though that experience is happening whether I want it to or not. For the factual content, for what they've committed to in writing. When you commit something to a court filing, you're committing to a specific version of events, specific dates, specific sequences. I read their version of events. I call Sienna. She answers on the second ring. I read her the relevant sections. She listens. Then she says, "Read me the date they're claiming you signed the refinancing consent documents." I find the date in the filing. I read it. Sienna is quiet for 2 seconds. "What was happening on that date?" she asks. I look at my calendar. My actual calendar, not the one with the entries I didn't create. The date is a Wednesday 8 weeks ago. I was at a work training program in the city, an all-day professional development seminar. I badged in through security at 8:15 and badged out at 5:40. I have the seminar program, the hotel receipt for parking, and photographs from the lunch session that are geotagged 2 hours from our house. I was at a work training, I say, 2 hours away, all day. Sienna says, they just locked themselves into a lie. The notary log arrives through the official request process Sienna filed. She calls me to her office when it comes in. We sit across from each other with the log on the desk between us. She opens to the relevant date, the date corresponding to when the POA documents were allegedly notarized. She finds the entry. The signer's ID number documented in the log doesn't match my driver's license number. Sienna reads it twice to make sure she's reading it correctly. She's reading it correctly. Someone presented an ID to the notary. The notary recorded the ID number per standard practice. The number in the log is not the number on my driver's license. Close, I ask. Similar format, different number. She looks at the next column, and there's a witness detail. The notary made a note in the comments field. She turns the page toward me. In the comments field, in the notary's handwriting, older woman present, directing conversation. I read it. Older woman, present, directing conversation. Marla came with whoever was using my ID to get documents notarized. She was there. She was directing the conversation. The notary was precise enough to note it. Sienna sits back. That older woman, she says, just became a significant figure in this case. She closes the logbook. Now we talk about phone records, she says. The subpoena for phone records goes through the proper legal process. It takes time. Court approval, carrier response, formal documentation, the right way, which is the only way Sienna does anything. What comes back is a call and text log covering 60 days. Sienna goes through it with me. Brent's nightly ritual, the silent phone, the screen-down placement before bed. I understood it as hiding something. I assumed the most emotionally obvious explanation. It wasn't an affair. It was coordination. Marla texted him after midnight on most of the relevant evenings. After I was asleep, after the phone was silenced, the texts in the log show the pattern. Strategic communication outside of daylight hours. Instructions about timing, about paperwork, about what to tell me and when. The first message I read on the lock screen: "Don't wake her. She can't know." It's in the log, sent at 2:12 in the morning, 3 months ago, and earlier in the same thread from a week before. "Bring her signature. If she won't sign, we'll handle it. We have it. Not because I touched his phone, not because I did anything that could be challenged, because Sienna requested it through proper legal channels, and the carrier provided it, and it's in the official court record now. Brent calls me the evening the records arrive. He says he wants to talk about settling this privately, without the court process continuing. I can drop everything, he says. We can end this quietly. Sienna told me this would happen. She also told me exactly what it means. He wants the court process to end, Sienna says, because the court process is the thing that makes everything visible. The settlement offer isn't about resolution, it's about darkness. We're in her office. She has the settlement offer in front of her. It's a private agreement, no court record, no official documentation. Sign the agreement. Both parties agree to resolve the matters raised, no further action on either side. The matters raised, phrased that way, so the agreement covers everything without naming anything. If I sign this, I say, everything they did disappears. Everything, she says. The credit inquiry, the bank access attempt, the forged ID used at the notary, Marla at the bank, the false date in the court filing. She folds her hands. His filing stated you signed documents on a date you were demonstrably somewhere else. If we settle privately, he never has to answer for that. We don't settle. I say. No, she says. We don't. She files our formal response the next morning. We request the complete financial disclosure Sienna has been building toward. We formally submit the evidence of the false date, supported by my badge and records from the work training, the parking receipt, the geotagged photos, the seminar program. We request the bank camera footage through the fraud investigation channel, citing Marla's documented presence in my account records. And we request a hearing date. The judge reviews the preliminary filings. She orders a full financial disclosure from Brent. She orders the camera footage reviewed. The bank security footage is reviewed under court supervision. The footage confirms a visit to my branch 5 weeks prior to the current proceedings. A customer service area where the account note was added. A woman matching Marla's description at the service desk, speaking with a representative. The footage is not conclusive for every element. Camera angles, image quality, the limitations of what can be established visually. But it is consistent with every other piece of documentation in the case. Consistent enough that the judge notes it explicitly in her assessment of the evidentiary record. The false date is the cleaner piece. Brent's court filing states I was present to sign documents on a Wednesday 8 weeks ago. The badge and log from the work training facility shows my name, my employee ID, and my scan-in at 8:15 and scan-out at 5:40. The parking receipt from the city garage is time-stamped and geotagged. The photos from the seminar lunch are on my phone, time-stamped and geotagged, showing my location 2 hours from our home for the full duration of the day. The filing claims I was present at a signing. The judge looks at the documentation. She looks at Brent. She looks at his attorney. She orders a full accounting of the debt associated with the refinancing consent he tried to have me sign. She orders disclosure of all financial activity in accounts held in either of our names for the preceding 24 months. She orders the bank fraud case findings incorporated into the record. Brent's reasonable husband presentation, the one he's been performing in this courtroom, develops the particular instability of a performance when the audience has been shown what's behind it. The judge notes on the record that the misrepresentation of dates in a court filing is a matter she takes seriously. The conservatorship petition is denied. The judge reads her ruling with the deliberate pace of a person who wants every word in the record. She finds no clinical basis for any finding that I am unable to manage my own affairs. She finds no evidentiary support for the claims made in the petition. She notes that the petition was filed concurrent with documented attempts to access my financial accounts without my authorization, and that this concurrence raises serious questions about the petition's actual purpose. Denied. The credit inquiry and unauthorized account access attempt are flagged in the court record for investigation by the appropriate fraud review office. The matter is referred. Brent's petition for temporary financial guardianship is dismissed with the court's formal notation of the date misrepresentation. Brent's attorney is already at the table gathering papers before the judge finishes speaking. Marla is in the gallery. She arrived in the same warm-colored clothes she wears to everything, the wardrobe of a woman who understands that presentation is a form of argument. She leaves the gallery quickly when the ruling is complete. I stay seated until the room has cleared. Sienna sits beside me. "It's done," she says. "The fraud referral?" I ask. "That continues separately. We gave them everything. What they do with it isn't our job anymore." I nod. We stand. I walk out of the courthouse into the afternoon. Sienna files protective measures that afternoon. My credit remains frozen until I choose to lift it. Any attempt to access any of my accounts requires in-person verification with my photo ID and the additional passphrase I established with Phyllis. Joint access to any account Brent and I held together is formally suspended pending the financial disclosure process. Every transaction for the preceding 24 months will be examined. Sienna files for equitable separation of marital finances to protect my individual assets during the proceedings. The court grants a protective order ensuring no further attempt to file or act on my behalf without my verified in-person consent. I go to the bank and I open a new account. My name only, my verified contact information, my passphrase, my account. The first deposit I make is from my own salary, mine. At home that evening, Brent packs a bag. He doesn't explain. He doesn't ask. He simply picks up the bag he's apparently been considering for several days and he moves toward the door. He stops in the hallway. "I didn't think it would go this far," he says. I look at him. "Tell your mother," I say. He leaves. I sit at my kitchen table. The house is quiet. 3 weeks after the ruling, I sit at my kitchen table in the morning with coffee. My coffee. My table. My quiet. The kitchen is ordinary in the way kitchens are ordinary before the day finds its shape. Sunlight through the window. The specific sound of a house in the early morning when no one is performing anything and nothing is being managed. Marla's key is no longer in my possession. I surrendered it to Sienna as documentation and it was returned to Brent through the court process. My file cabinet has a new lock. The key is on my key ring where the old key used to be. My locks are mine. My accounts are mine. My credit, when I lift the freeze in my own time on my own terms, is mine. The financial disclosure process is ongoing. The full picture of the debt, the accounts, the 18 months of activity I wasn't aware of, is being examined by people whose job is to find the truth in numbers. I don't need to find it myself. I documented and submitted and let the process do what processes are designed to do. The fraud referral is in the hands of the county office. I don't track it daily. I did what I could do, and I handed it off. Dana comes for coffee on Saturdays now. She sits across from me and we drink our coffee and we talk about things that aren't this. The specific luxury of a morning where the things being discussed are ordinary and real and chosen. I think sometimes about the ritual. Brent flipping the phone, screen down, pressing the silent button, kissing my forehead. The specific sequence of a plan maintained nightly for months. I thought about it so many ways in those early weeks. What it meant, what was behind it, what I was missing. What I was missing was this. The phone going silent every night was never about an affair or a secret or something emotional. It was about logistics. It was Marla's instruction arriving after I was supposed to be asleep. It was a plan that required my signature or my incapacitation and was being quietly built around me while I slept. I was sleeping. They were coordinating. Until I wasn't sleeping. Until I saw a message on a lock screen and wrote it down at 2 a.m. and started building something they couldn't plan around. I pick up my coffee cup. I look out the kitchen window at the morning. The paperwork always tells the truth. Not the performance. Not the concerned expression or the warm casseroles or the ritual phone silencing. The paperwork. The notary log that showed the wrong ID number. The badge-in record that showed me 2 hours away. The bank note that said mother present when I had no mother to be present. The date in the filing that couldn't survive contact with the evidence. The phone records that showed coordination, not romance, in the messages Sienna's subpoena retrieved. All of it on paper. All of it in the record now. Permanent. If you've ever been told trust me while someone quietly rewrote your life in the documents, subscribe. The paperwork always tells the truth. Stay with me. Because the next story might be exactly what you need to hear.